Before we start this video today, make sure you leave a like on this video. It certainly helps me out as a content creator and shows me that I am doing a great job. And if you haven't already done it, make sure you subscribe. Also, make sure you hit that bell icon if you want to get updates on new videos. There are many furries in the fandom who are scientists, tech engineers, and inventors. Many of these furry innovators have influenced the everyday lives of individuals. But for some reason, people don't seem to realize that. So today we are going to discuss a particular furry who has invented and developed a technology that is very beneficial in both health and fitness. Hello everyone, your friendly neighborhood demonic Ravenwolf October is back with another interesting topic, so let us get into it. Today we have another article reading we are going to go over. And awesomely, this article is a very positive and inspirational perspective on what someone in the furry fandom has done. This article was called "Your Smartwatch Heart Rate Monitor was developed by a furry." Like most articles, the title says it all. It gets your attention and makes you want to find out who this individual is and how they are involved in the furry fandom, as well as how they developed this particular technology. 20 years ago, heart rate monitors were single-purpose, dedicated devices that were focused on health and fitness. Today, they are incredibly common and built into just about every major fitness tracker and smartwatch, thanks to the development of the optical heart rate sensor. There is a good chance you're probably wearing one right now. But here's something you probably didn't know. It was invented by a furry. David Benaron, MD, is a biochemist, an inventor, and an entrepreneur. He has studied at Harvard and MIT, taught at Stanford, and has founded and served in the C-suites of multiple biotech companies. He has developed the sensor that enables heart rate monitoring on wearables like smartwatches, and has made advances in the field of optical blood oxygen monitoring as well. Well, that's really impressive. Not only developing a heart rate monitoring system, but also developing a new way of observing blood oxygen levels? Essentially, the technology used for detecting blood oxygen levels works by shining a light through the skin that is able to detect how much oxygen is attached to hemoglobin. This can give insight into how much oxygen a patient is taking in. This technology and the development of it have become even more important after COVID, which affects the respiratory system as well as the intake of oxygen of people who contract it. Something I didn't know is that, interestingly, the oxygen level detection technology is very similar to the smartwatch heart rate monitor devices. We also get this cool photograph of Dr. Benaron's fursuit, who is called Spottacus. The article goes on to say, in case you are unaware, a furry is an enthusiast of role-playing an anthropomorphic animal person. We should note here that fursuiters are a specific subgroup of furries. Not every furry actually dresses up as a big fluffy animal for conventions and gatherings, which is a common misconception. That specific type of furry is known as a fursuiter. I always appreciate it when articles tell accurate information about the furry fandom, such as we do not all wear fursuits. That is just a small subset of the furry fandom. Spottacus got on my radar through Twitter. I have several friends who are furries with online presences, and one retweeted Spottacus talking about green light heart rate sensors a few weeks ago, which piqued my interest. Obviously, simply claiming to have invented such a technology is easy to do on social media. So I reached out to him regarding his research and dug into records to confirm what he told me. Of course, technology and consumer-ready electronics are almost never a single step between conception and execution, and Dr. Benaron's work is a particular link in a chain of advances that have led to the ubiquity of smartwatch heart rate trackers. However, his specific research at Stanford seemed to be a particular important step in the evolution of the bulky chest band, and the red light/infrared heart rate monitors to what we more commonly wear now. Unfortunately, on Twitter nowadays, essentially anybody can claim whatever they want. So anytime somebody makes a claim, you should always definitely dig into the information. Also love how he uses the word Twitter. The heart rate monitor wristwatches are most definitely an evolutionary step forward to the technology we had in the early 2000s. I remember one time I did actually wear a device, and it was kind of like a harness that wrapped around my midsection, and it had wires that ran down to kind of like a heart rate monitor box that was attached to a belt. And the interesting thing about this whole big bulky device was it wasn't for any type of medical purpose. It was just to measure my heart rate while I was out running. And that type of technology was really the only way you could do that back then. So yeah, technology has definitely come a long way since that. The next section of the article is called Dr. Benaron's Technical History. Dr. Benaron attended graduate school at Harvard and MIT in their health studies and technology programs, and he received his doctorate of medical degree from Harvard Medical School with the specialization in medical devices. He later joined Stanford's Development of Pediatrics, Neonatal and Developmental Medicine Division, where he taught and researched for over a decade. Dr. Benaron founded Stanford's Biophotonics Lab, which made numerous advances and made mice glow in the process. He invented the green light oxygen monitor in 2005. It uses green light to measure oxygen in the bloodstream, a different process from the conventional pulse oximeters. Invented in 1978 by Dr. William New, another Stanford professor using red light. This green light-based sensor is an underlying technology that drives heart rate monitoring features in consumer devices like smartwatches and fitness trackers. Dr. Benaron has founded multiple biotech companies, including Spectros, a firm that specializes in medical sensors. He also served as Jawbone's chief medical officer before the company's dissolution. He is currently chief medical officer at All Health and both strategic director and intern CEO of More Digital Pharmacy. So we have now gotten insight into Dr. Benaron's contribute to this type of technology as well as healthcare, such as the green light him and his team have developed to measure the oxygen levels in the blood. Later in the article, we will also find out why this technology is important and why it is an improvement over the red light pulse oximeters. The next section of this article is about Dr. Benaron's furry history. So let's see how he joined this astonishing fluffy place we call the fandom. Dr. Benaron assumed the name Spottacus in the 90s, joining the then fledgling furry community. At his friend's suggestion, he attended his first furry convention, Furry Confusion, at the early aughts. He has since been active in the furry communities. He chose the name Spottacus as a play on the name Spartacus in a Brooklyn accent, and because he tends to favor spotted cats. Despite his name, Spottacus' first fursuit was a wolf. He does not create his own fursuits, but commissions other experts in the field to build them. His fursuits are often 3D printed and custom fur manufactured by National Fiber Technology. NFT, founded long before non-fungible tokens were created. He currently owns 46 fursuits. The article continues doing a great job describing the furry fandom, such as getting into the fact that not all furries create their own fursuits, and a lot of them are in fact custom made, which surprisingly for some reason not everybody knows. Also, the development of 3D printed technology is really coming around and is creating, let's face it, more advanced and realistic looking fursuits that we have never seen before in the fandom. It's just truly incredible. Spottacus produced a art installation, Soulmates, at Burning Man 2019. It consisted of 6 different art piece installations by different furry artists, printed on 6-foot-tall cloth sections and suspended by illuminated tubing frames. Spottacus currently lives in the San Francisco Bay Area. He has an animal sanctuary permit for his home and 3 pet cats, including an African serval named Shivari. Unfortunately, I was unable to find this particular art installation they are describing in the article, so if anyone has any more details about it or even any pictures of this art installation, I would definitely love to see it. This next part is an actual interview done with Dr. Benaron / Spottacus, entitled Talking with Dr. Benaron. I spoke to Dr. Benaron about his career in biotechnology and his life as a furry. How did you develop the technology behind green light heart rate sensors? Every scientist stands on the shoulders of those before them. Nothing comes completely from a vacuum. Before I worked on the heart rate sensor, there were pulse oximeters that measured finger oxidization. There were even PhDs granted to study how protons bounced around in tissue in a dozen places. Boston, Cambridge, Vanderbilt, Philadelphia, Ontario, London, Berlin, and my new lab in Stanford in both the schools of medicine and physics. So we were very deep in understanding how light behaves in human tissue. The green light oximeter technology developed by Dr. Benaron and his team had the capability of absorbing into the skin and gathering more accurate data about oxygen levels. However, would the green light be able to return to the device and give a more accurate reading on pulse rate and heart rate monitoring? We knew that hemoglobin absorbed the most light per molecule, not in the red, but in the purple and green bands. But everybody already knew that green and purple light did not go through tissue. Did you ever shine a red laser pointer through your finger? The whole finger glows red. But if you shine blue or green light, nothing can be seen coming through by the eye. So red and infrared light are already used because those wavelengths can shine through the tissue. But absorbance was weak in the red, so you needed to shine all the way through the finger. Nobody bothered to look at green. My insight was, if you looked at skin such as Caucasian skin, it looked pink to the eye, and it turned white when you pushed down. Anything that looks pink reflects red and absorbs green. And if the pink could be pressed out, that must be blood. That meant the conventional wisdom must be wrong. Red and green light must have reached blood under the skin. But just red light is visible coming back. If green light could get into the skin, there must be some coming back, even if we don't see it well with the eye. So we tested this idea. We shined white light on the skin and used a sensitive spectrophotometer to measure what came back. And when we measured the returning light, we saw green light pulses. As your heart beats and the pressure in your blood vessels rises and falls, the size of the vessels change, giving rise to heartbeat pulses in the detectable light. And this did not only work in pale skin, but it also worked in the deepest, darkest skin too, even though your eye could not see it. Deeply brown skin looks neutral to our eye, but the light coming back is actually still pinkish from the blood from a spectroscopy viewpoint, and had the same green pulse signature of hemoglobin. Although it doesn't directly say it in the article, the green light oximeter technology was able to do something that the previous red light oximeter technology was not able to do before. The major issue with the red light detection is that some of the light would be reflected back with some types of skin pigmentation. However, with the green light, which can be absorbed more easily into the skin, The issue of types of skin pigmentation that other red light oximeters had did not occur. Because of this, more accurate measurements of oxygen attached to the hemoglobin could be seen, as well as the heart rate and pulse. When we saw that, we got really excited. We had discovered a simple way of measuring the pulse using reflected light. I drew exclamation points all over the lab notebook page. Later, we found out you could also measure respiration rates, and even estimate blood pressure by using this approach. And the heart rate smartwatch sensor was born. You also have a patent for white light spectroscopy, which can measure oxygen saturation. Is this the technology that is used in recent smartwatches and heart rate trackers that have SpO2 sensors? My lab looked at light in human tissue. So we studied many wavelengths from ultraviolet to infrared. Each light is absorbed differently by different substances. So for water, or the pigment for jaundice, could be measured. Also, when you use a lot of wavelengths, such as white light, you don't even need to have the sensor in contact with the skin. So you can even measure from across the room because a large number of wavelengths let you solve the equation accurately without contact. Some of the Microsoft gaming systems have adopted this non-contact method. Because our idea and our approach were novel and unexpected, there were over 100 patents issued. For example, knowing that green light can pass through tissue led us to put firefly and glowworm genes into cells, and then image or count them. We didn't know it would work at first. Sitting in a pitch black room at Stanford, my postdoc and I stared at the petri dish streaked with the genetically transformed bacteria that his wife engineered. Slowly, our eyes adapted to the darkness, and we began to see the faint colonies of glowing green bacteria. At that instant, I knew that we could change biomedical imaging by non-invasively sensing small populations of genetically labeled cells in the bodies of living animals. Later, as the full implications of this event became clear, I remained awake well into the night. It's truly amazing that this green light technique that they developed can be used outside of its original purpose. It definitely shows the innovation. You see, most medical imaging methods like CT scans or MRIs need millions of cells to detect a group of cells inside the body. If cells are just 10 microns across, then 100 of them form a 1 millimeter line, and a million is just a 1 milliliter cube. But our method could see just 1 to 10 cells in a living body. A lot of biology research now uses our light-creating genetic and imaging techniques. I think Stanford should have won one of those Nobels. But of course, I am biased. I am just super proud of what we developed and how much of lab science we have influenced. It's really admiring to see the humbleness of Dr. Benaron and his team of researchers when developing this technology that has, let's just face it, revolutionized biological research as well as measurements of oxygen and just the simple pulse and heart rate. It's just truly refreshing. For this next section in the article, we're now going to delve back into Dr. Benaron's interest in the furry fandom. What drew you to the furry fandom? When did it start? As a child, I did not relate to my peers socially. Everyone else made eye contact, and I tended to look away. I couldn't understand why they found certain things important. The boys liked sports, while I liked reading. I felt very alien. I worried, would I ever fit in? I related to animals, though. I loved cats and dogs and wild things. I crawled on all fours and purred and meowed. So I started to make costumes to recapture those feelings. My first full suit was a wolf. When I put it on, the world got quieter and softer. People just tell me I light up when I am in a fursuit, and I can even focus my mind better. Nobody notices I glance to the side when I listen or struggle to catch my gaze. And I even listen better in fursuit. I totally relate to this. I think most people in the fandom would relate to these types of feelings as well. Many people, including myself, suffer from forms of anxiety and find it very hard to socially interact with other people. It sometimes feels like we don't have a place in the world and we struggle, and as he puts it, because we feel so alien. It's really interesting that Dr. Benaron had a fursuit before he joined the furry community. As it will say further into the article, this was the early years of the furry community, so kind of the pre-fandom years. Now you might think that walking around in character creates distance. It's exactly the opposite. Fursuiting breaks down social barriers. People you don't know will start conversations with you on the street and in restaurants. When I go out to concerts, everybody wants to dance. And on the sidewalk, people will hand you your babies and ask you to take pictures. Just think of that. Imagine if they did that while I'm not in fursuit. I have heard that fursuits are more than just a costume or a cosplay. I do agree it does break down social barriers, and it allows the person to truly be themselves, or at the very least be a part of themselves that they truly want to be. I was living a furry lifestyle, going to concerts and suiting, but doing it alone. Remember, this was before Web.0, so there was little available online. And I wasn't playing Dungeons & Dragons, attending science fiction conventions, or majoring in engineering, places where the early furs gathered. When I suited to dances and concerts, I was the only one there. Encouraged to come to a convention by these new online friends, I went to Further Confusion, a furry convention in the 2000s, and it felt like I was finally home. I found words for what I felt. I found friends and a network. It quickly expanded. There was no learning curve. I had found my tribe. Yeah, seriously, the time before the internet, or even in the early internet years, was a confusing and somewhat hectic time if you were interested in anthropomorphic characters. Fortunately, many furries today do not have to go through that. However, back then, this hobby had to be more or less done solely, and there was really no welcoming community as it is today. Finding my tribe is definitely a term I have heard before when the furry community is being discussed. We all want to fit in somewhere, and we all want to find that one community that will accept us for us. It is a social necessity that we all share. The experience that many furries and other young people who don't follow the common path is a feeling that we are perennial outsiders in society. And as young adults, we feared that everybody else had dance partners, but we may never find love and acceptance. It's how I felt in elementary school and junior high. Not that I was unlovable, but that I would never find a soulmate. Finding a community where you belong is very important. Whether it be a geeky engineer and you find a Dungeons and Dragons club, or you find that you are a furry like me. Finding acceptance is an amazing and fulfilling journey. The furry aspect turned my life from the scientifically amazing to the socially amazing. Finding my tribe was transformative in my life. I find it very interesting how joining the fandom and becoming a furry has kind of changed. In the early and pre-internet years, it kind of had to be in the right place and you had to kind of meet the right people at the right time. Now, due to the internet, you can kind of just go online, watch videos, and essentially find the community and be your true self. It's just truly incredible. How do you express your furriness? Day-to-day, social media, at cons? Do you keep it heavily separated from your work? Or do the lifestyles merge? This is Silicon Valley. I fursuit at work. Sometimes when I fursuit at work, nobody even comments. I do think it adds street cred because it is seen as edgy. I have seen many, and I mean many videos of fursuiters suiting at their job. If I had a fursuit, I don't know if I'd be brave enough to do that, but it's really cool that there are many members in the community that are. Also, love the Skype call of Dr. Benaron wearing a saber-toothed tiger head to this meeting. It is just truly hilarious, and I don't know how I would have reacted if I would have seen this. I probably would have had to contain myself from bursting out laughing or saying "aw" at the same time. I was eating dinner at Shizen, an upscale sushi restaurant in San Francisco, with my team from work. I am in a cheetah suit made on a computerized loom from a pattern scanned from a live cheetah woven into a thin, stretchy base. It clings to me like a glove, so you see just a living, breathing cheetah who is able to eat in fursuit. I would love to see that, by the way. So there we are, eating, drinking, and I look up to see a balding, middle-aged, blue-eye businessman standing there. He said he's from Chicago, and what is with the suit? So I explain that I am a furry, and this is the team from my startup. He says I am an adventure capitalist. We talk, and 6 weeks later, he invests. This became a legend at work, so people think that my suiting is cool. So he made a deal while he was in fursuit. I guess he really wasn't kidding when he said the fursuit breaks down social barriers. I love the energy of the community. Artistic and scientific talent abound. We produce music, science, and art, and we freely share our ideas and experiences online. I have friends all over the world. I truly feel that I am part of the local as well as international furry community. And how many people can say that these days? Do you have any particular favorite scenes, groups, cons, or furry experiences that you would like to share? When fursuiting was less common, I was often the only suitor at a large concert. I would get conversationally spoken to by the performer, mic'd and on-staged frequently. Before the pandemic, I went to see Caravan Palace, an electro swing band in concert. I wore a spandex gold ocelot with large green eyes and a fuzzy tail. People liked it and pushed me to the front. Thousands of people were there, but the singer, Zoe Collades, she talked to me. She praised my paws, and she asked me, "Who are you?" When she left, she thanked the city and then added, "Bye, furries." Upon reading this, I was somewhat surprised, but upon further consideration, there are many furries in the furry community that are in fact singers and musicians. So it's not totally crazy, but it still is pretty awesome. Imagine Dragons invited me backstage. Lady Gaga waved and said hi to my furry and scaly friends. Coldplay said they liked my dancing. The Decemberists' lead singer Colin talked to me about life. I have been pulled on stage in front of 20,000 people to dance with Jared Leto and churches. The list goes on. I was cast as a furry along with others in a music video for "You Are Killing Me" by the Dandy Warhols. The video is about a washed-up alcoholic author who strikes his head in a fall at a bar. He wakes up in a furry world and in the process somehow finishes the novel he was struggling to complete. I guess drink responsibly or you too could end up in a furry world? As an inventor and an engineer, have you ever been inspired by fursuit making to develop some new technology Has your engineering knowledge led to any fursuit revolutions? Yes and no. I have commissioned other makers to push boundaries and be creative, such as custom woven 3D printed fursuits made of poured plastics or foams. This would allow customized, exactly fitted designs to be rendered in 3D and then produced. But I do think the furry experience is going to change the world. Just as the fandom allows you to choose how to present yourself, technology is accelerating our options for transformation. In cyberspace, a term coined by William Gibson, we work and play in a virtual environment. Our internet has come to be that place we can meet digitally and has made it real. Our avatars, a term coined by Neil Stephenson in Snow Crash, are projections of our transformed bodies. Our digital selves presenting themselves to others in a virtual or augmented reality. No fursuit required. Starting in Second Life and now in VR chat and many other games. We all now meet regularly in imagined and transformed forms. Even video conferencing has digital filters that transform what we show and share with others about ourselves. And in virtual spaces, the dopamine and serotonin neurological responses that we have there are as real as in the regular meat-spaced world. Technology is definitely marching forward, both in and out of the furry fandom. To think, just a few years ago we were only communicating with the old "you got mail" system. Now we have virtual avatars that move with us and mimic our speech. We're also developing technology that can vastly help us become who we truly want to be, such as the 3D printing fursuit making. Because of these new advances, we can now become more comfortable with ourselves, and who knows, maybe we'll have the ability to project 3D modeling into the real world through holograms. But maybe I'm getting a little too sci-fi there. Who knows what the future may hold. All in all, this is a really amazing article, and I highly recommend you check it out for yourself. It also gave me the opportunity to learn new things that I hadn't known before, like how heart rate monitor smartwatches work, and how new innovations have allowed for more accurate readings of oxygen levels in blood, which I didn't know much about until doing research for the video. I would also like to give a special thanks to MaileyWotails.com for posting this article on their Blue Sky account. Definitely give them a follow. Like I do at the end of every video, what are your thoughts on this? Do you know of another furry who has made advances in technology and the medical field? How did you get into the fandom? Did you have the aid of the internet? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and I'll be seeing you soon. Hey, if you enjoy our content, maybe you would like to help us support our channel. Every little bit helps. And buy me a coffee sometime. I would also like to give a special shout out to the amazing artist who did the extraordinary character stills we used in this video. The ever incredible Bleptarts. Definitely check out their artwork if you get the chance. Also, if you're interested in the flittering thoughts that go upon in my brain, consider following us on Blue Sky. And thank you once again for your support.